Okay, guys, this is the video of the Unit 10 PA key so that you can do your corrections and study so that you can do the retest. Now, your retest is not going to be the exact same problems as what's on this PA. The numbers will be different. So please don't just memorize these answers because you will make a 0 on the next one. Okay, the first question is asking you to find a final price for the exercise machine after a fee is added and tax. Okay, so the first thing that you have to do is you take your tax rate, which is 8 1/4%, and you convert it to a decimal. So since that is the same as saying 8.25%, remember you move your decimal point to the left 2 times to convert a percent to a decimal. So that's how we get this number right here. So take this number and multiply it by the price of the machine, which is $6,995. Since we're dealing with money here, don't forget to round to the nearest hundred. So this 8 is in the hundreds place. There's your decimal. With the 7 beside it, that's how I end up with the 8 becoming a 9 right here. So the tax amount is $577.09. Okay, it says that you have an assembly fee of $150. Can't really see right down here. But remember how we talked about fees are added after your tax is calculated. So that means you do the tax first, and then you add the tax to the original price, and then you add in the fee. So the last step you want to do is take your original amount, take your tax, and take your fee, and add the three together for your final price. And that's problem number 1, part A. Okay, on the next page, you have part B. I'm sorry, number 2. So number 2 is the problem that is asking for a unit rate. Remember, we talked about how in your equation y equals mx plus b, or y equals kx, your m, which is your slope, is also the unit rate. So therefore, that's how we're going to be able to go from our unit rate to our equation down here. But to find your unit rate, since it says that we have x minutes and y is your area, it tells you 12 square inches in 5 minutes. Remember, write that as a fraction. So that's why I have 12 inches squared per every 5 minutes. Then set up your proportion. Since you're trying to find per minute, a unit rate means 1. So it means we want 1 minute. So all you have to do is divide by 5. So once you divide it by 5, you got 2 4/10. So my unit rate is 2 4/10, which means that this is going to be my m, or my slope, or my k, depending on the type of equation it is. And since it happens to be a unit rate, it's not even m, it's really k, because it's going to be in the form of y equals kx since it's proportional. So that's how we go from the unit rate to part B, which is our multiple representations. So since there is nothing being added or subtracted with it, then our equation is just simply y equals 2.4x, or y equals 2 2/5 x, either one. So for your table, you know to plug in these x values over here and then solve. So first you would do 2.4 times 0, which is 0, and then 2.4 times 1, which is 2.4, and so on. So that's how we get these numbers. Okay, then you should be able to take these and graph. Remember, these make ordered pairs. Your ordered pairs are x value and a y value. So that means you're going to graph 0, 0, 1, and then 2 4/10, and so on. Decimal there. So that's why in my graph, and I guess you can see, and one of the things I try to tell y'all to do is to label your axes. Okay, because some of y'all are doing it backwards. If this is your y-axis, it told you up there that y is the area. So that means the y values have to be on this axis right here, because it's the y-axis. And your x values, which is your number of minutes, have to be on your x-axis. So just plot your points and do your graph. Since this happens to be a proportional relationship, there is a constant of proportionality, which is 2.4. Okay, part C. You're working off the same exact problem. So that means you have to use that unit rate. So it says determine the number of square inches Francine will quilt in 1.25 hours. Well, if you know she does 12 inches squared in 5 minutes, which took us to our unit rate of 2.4 inches squared per minute. If we want to know how much she's going to do in 1.25 hours, then convert that 1.25 hours to minutes. So 1.25 is like saying 1 and a fourth. You should know that a fourth of an hour is 15 minutes. So 1 hour is 60 minutes. Your fourth of an hour is 15 minutes. Once you add that together, that's where the 75 minutes comes from. So this 1.25 hours is now 75 minutes. So all you have to do is multiply by 75 to get your answer. Okay, number 3. This time you were given a problem that said the material is $8.50 a yard, and you also have to pay for a pattern. So you also have to pay an additional $15. So the $8.50 a yard is telling you basically what your slope is. It's telling you your rate of change. And the $15 is just your constant. That's just the set amount you're going to pay. So therefore your equation is y equals 8.5x plus 15. Okay, plug in your x values and solve. Matter of fact, once you put in the 0, you get 8.5 times 0, which is just 0. So that means your first value has to be 15. So you should realize from there, all you're really doing is adding 8.5 every single time. So that's what my work right over here is showing. And that's how the numbers are put into the table. Okay, then you're going to go to the graph. Sorry, ignore these little spots right here. Just pay attention to the graph. Since 15 is our y-intercept, the graph should be, your first point should be at 0, 15. Again, don't forget to label your axes and make sure that you're on the correct axis. It tells you that x is your number of yards and that y is your total cost of the fabric or the quilt. So therefore, do your graph accordingly. Since this is a non-proportional relationship, there is no constant of proportionality. Okay, part B wants you to use your equation up here to find out how much 4.25 yards of material is going to cost. So all you have to do was take your 4.25 and plug it in for x and work the equation out. So 8.5 times 4.25 is going to give you 36.125, and then add your 15. Again, since we're dealing with money, round to the nearest hundredth. So those are the steps that I went through. Okay, the back page, problem number 4. It's pretty simple to number 2. Pretty similar to number 2. Practically the same thing. All it tells you is that you're just paying for each yard. There is no additional fee that you have to pay. So therefore, it's a proportional relationship. So it's just y equals 9.25x. So go through the same steps that you would have done on number 2 to get your answers. Plug in your x values and solve. Since it is a proportional relationship, there is nothing being added or subtracted at the end. We have a constant of proportionality, which is 9.25. Again, on the graph, don't forget to label your axes. Okay, then part B. You are using this equation up here to determine the cost of the 4.25 yards. So plug in 4.25 and multiply. That's all you had to do. So you should have gotten $39.31 once you rounded that off. Number 5, part A, is where you are using your scale factor. Remember, scale factor is whatever you're going to multiply by to get your new image. So we started off with 36 by 60. The next one is going to be 54 by 90. So all you have to do is see, what do I need to multiply 60 by to get 90? Or what am I going to multiply 36 by to get 54? So what I did was I went ahead and simplified these first. And once I simplified, this basically became 6. I'm sorry. That became 10. And it also simplified a little bit more. And over here, when I simplified this, oh, never mind. What I actually did, I did not simplify. I just crossed off these zeros. And then I divided 6 into 9. So 6 into 9 went 1 and 3/6 times, which is 1.5. That's 1.5. So that means if I multiply 6 times 1.5, I'm going to get 9. If I multiply 36 times 1.5, I'm going to get 54. If I multiply 60 times 1.5, I'll get 90. So that's why 1.5 is your scale factor. Okay, and your final problem, which is part B, was the one that dealt with your change of dimensions by percent. So remember, change your percent to a decimal first and then multiply. So since it was 36 by 60, I took my 36 and multiplied it by the decimal for 75%. And I took my 60 and multiplied it by the decimal for 75%. This gives me my new dimensions. So my new dimensions are now 27 by 45. So those are the numbers that I plugged in to get my perimeter. Since perimeter is 2 times length plus 2 times width, plug the numbers into the formula and solve. All right, if you have any questions, please see me on Monday. Remember, your retest is Tuesday. The only way that you will be allowed in to retest is if you have these corrections and your test must be signed. Have a good weekend, guys.